Okay, we're live.
Hey.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Welcome. It's an exciting day. We get to kind of talk through everything. I know that we've had a lot of conversations on the back end, and we're just talking through things here before we went live. I'm glad that video worked. That was the first time we tried that out.
It looked fantastic. I was very impressed
video, right?
just zooming in on watching it. Wow.
Awesome.
I should join that team, whatever that team came from.
Right. Absolutely. So, yes, we want to kind of talk through the process a little bit, what brought you to EXP. But I guess first, let's just kind of start with, what's the background? Like, how long have you been in the real estate industry? What have you been doing kind of up to here? What got us here?
Right. I've been in the industry almost 6 years now. I worked in nonprofit work up until then. And last couple of years before I started, I had my own nonprofit here in Pittsburgh that went nationally. And so I ended up in the same place that a lot of people sometimes end up, that I was financially dependent on my spouse. I wasn't happy in that marriage, and I needed a change, and I needed a change quickly. And I knew nonprofit work was something that I was passionate about, but was not going to bring in the money if I needed to be independent. So I started looking at some options, and I knew that my family and I would have to make some sacrifices through the divorce, but I also knew that I needed to have some flexibility. I have a child with special needs and two others that I was kind of looking out for. So just that flexibility of being able to balance my life. So real estate actually kind of came upon me, and I took the test and started off and did pretty well from the start.
And back then, I guess let's take it back then and think about then versus now. Like, what had you make the decision on where to go then? Was it just this is the biggest name here, like that's where I should go? Was it was the local office? Like what did that look like? I guess 6 years ago.
Yeah, 6 years ago. I mean, I kind of came up with a little checklist. Yes, I wanted something that was the local office. So if my kids needed to stop by and stuff like that. I mean, my kids were still pretty young. My kids are now gone and everything. But at that time, they were still pretty dependent on me. And I knew I wanted to be financially independent. I knew I wanted to not have to rely on my ex at all. So to be able to go to the local one and start, right away and start making some money just seemed to make sense. And it made me feel comfortable in that decision that where I was headed. So.
Yeah, because I feel like that's what happens with a lot of people when they originally get into the real estate industry, right? It's like you go out of convenience a lot of the times, or what's comfortable. Maybe that's local office. Maybe that's your friend is over here. Maybe that's, I know a couple people there, and I know that they're top producers. That would be somebody that I could go and mentor underneath. Or, there's a lot of decisions that go into the process, I think, when you're first starting out. And a lot of times we're just naive. Like we just don't know we don't know any better, maybe, when we're originally starting out. I remember way back when I first started, and it was just like, I knew this guy was a top producer at this firm, so I kind of wanted to be like him. So that's where I was going to go, right? Yeah. So that's how we kind of got to that process. And then after you get there, you kind of feel things out, and you end up getting comfortable with what's going on, right? So you were at your previous brokerage 6 years, right?
Yep.
And kind of take us through, I guess, the progression there. Like, what were you working on when you first started? Was it tough getting, kind of getting up and running? And then, like, what did that look like?
Well, I don't do things easy, that's for sure. So I started off in real estate, in my career in real estate. I was getting a divorce and I was an elected official locally. So I was running a municipality with 4 other people. I was, trying to start this real estate business. And then I was, trying to figure out my family life. So none of it was easy, but it ended up being that, I'm a night owl, so I could work at night and get some things done. And I happen to know a lot of people because I served, my municipality for 8 years as a commissioner. So people just started contacting me through that, and it was pretty easy as time moved on, and just getting myself established and working through things. So I think my biggest thing was just trying to figure out the process of it all, and social media. I wasn't as comfortable with social media 6 years ago as I am now. So,
yeah, I think that's just like a natural progression. I think we're all kind of like that. Like,
yeah, I think so too.
2 years ago, I wouldn't have wanted to have done a live video. Now we do them all the time. It's just like, it's just certain things you just naturally progress into. And I think, and I think that's kind of how it is with life, right? Like you start, like you got a lot going on, and sometimes it may not be the best time. It may not be the most convenient time, but it's like, if you know that you got to do something, sometimes just pulling the Band-Aid off and doing it is the best way. And you take, you learn things the hard way, you take your lumps, but you end up being better for it. I think.
Well, I think for sure, like 6 years ago, I was in survival mode. Like you just gotta, punch it through, and very much in survival mode. I would say in the last couple of years, it's more of the thriving mode of just getting the whole, not only real estate, but personal life, and just all the balance across the board, and more succinct for, feeling comfortable. But I think that's actually what led me to EXP, though, was probably in these last couple of years that I got out of survival mode, and then I was like, now what? I need to figure some things out. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's a progression, right? Like we start out in the industry and we're just trying to figure it all out. Right. Like first year, it's tough. It's just like, you don't even really know how to write a contract. You need help. You need a mentor. You need somebody, you need an office manager, you need a broker, you need somebody like that to help you. And then you're still in survival mode, but then it's like, you're hustling, trying to make everything work. And then, I feel like it's always that 3 to 4 year mark where it all just clicks. And the industry, you know what you're doing. There's no pressure at appointments. There's no and then it's like, how do I grow this thing? Yeah. And that's where for a lot of people, it's, it's always in that like 3-4 year mark where it's like, well, wait, why am I doing things this way? And then you start like, hey, is there a better way out here for me? Is there a better way to run this business? Is there like, how do I pour some gasoline on this fire and start getting more deals from this, this side of things, or, and then you start really looking at it like a business, as opposed to just being a real estate agent that's just, kind of running around at anyone's beck and call whenever they need you. Right.
Yeah, no, I think that's important. And for me, kind of the moment of clarity too was, this was like 2 years ago. I'm like, 2 years, I'm going to have at least 2 in college. Right. And, I'm helping, all 3 try to get to where they need to go, and allow for them to, pursue their dreams and and with not a lot of financial backing or support, for myself, I was like, wow, I really either got to pump it up, and I already felt like I was working a lot, or I got to figure something else with my business to make it more sustainable for for the four of us. So.
Right, exactly. And and I think that's one of those things, like, and that's probably one of the reasons that, maybe you started looking at, is there a better mousetrap out there? Is there a better way? Is there a business model that I could kind of tap into? Is there, because a lot of times, like you said, you go into an original brokerage, you're comfortable there. There's no reason to move until like maybe something happens, or maybe like there's an eye opening, or maybe there's like, hey, I should really be looking at, am I giving too much away? Is there something else I could be doing? Is there another brokerage that would better suit the business that I have right now?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that was one of the things, like, you were looking for a little bit more longer term kind of income. You were looking at what's the future look like? What does saving look like? You got 2 kids in college, you're looking at health insurance. Like, there's a lot of different things going on, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. And I mean, and again, like, you want not only to be surviving that period of time financially, but you just said it a second ago, retirement. Like, I mean, I was like, that's never going to be happening for me. I'm never going to have a retirement. And that became a paramount in terms of that health insurance and, where I wanted to go. And I was trying it at my old brokerage to do some things different. And the environment's not as comfortable about doing things different there. But I was trying to figure out some ways to be able to build my business that might be a little different, but might mean some flexibility with my broker. And it just seemed like it wasn't working out. It should, when you're trying to do those things, it should be easy. And it wasn't easy. I was putting forth a lot of effort and not getting as much return as I had hoped. So, so my eyes just got, more open to what the other possibilities were. Because, I mean, obviously, as an agent, we all get phone calls regularly from people who are recruiting from brokers, sometimes, multiple times a day, depending on which month it is. And I always said no. I was just like, no, I'm happy. No, I'm where I'm at, and I'm good. But then suddenly, about a year ago, I would say, I was like, oh, there's really got to be something different for myself and such. So,
yeah,
I think you guys kind of fell in my lap, which is really what happened.
Sometimes timing is everything, right?
Very much so, because I can't even tell you. You and I have had this conversation over the phone a few times. We just talked about it right before this video and such. But I mean, literally, I was so excited about 2020, as everybody was, and looking for some things. And I promised myself a few things. I had a little list, and I promised myself that I was going to start making more money, whether that meant I'd have to get a second job or whatever to support my kids and myself, and to travel. I'm a big traveler. I wanted to be able to do that. And then the second one was health insurance. I promised myself, I was turning 45 in 2020. I needed to have health insurance. I had been uninsured for a couple of years at that point. So, I had a few other things.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because we did talk about that before this, and I was kind of I'm one of the lucky ones. I have health insurance now through my wife, but I had a number of, like, this is a self-employed business, right? So that's a business expense. So if it's another deal, or do I pay the health insurance? It was always another deal for me. And it was like, I went multiple years without health insurance. And then you ended up being required to have it, and it became very expensive.
Yep. I'm lucky that and grateful. My kids have always been insured through my ex's health insurance, but I had a glitch in which I'm a single person, and in my 40s, a female, and it does start to get higher and higher, to the point in which one of the last offerings from a group about a year ago, it would have been close to my rent that I pay. So it was just
Crazy,
like,
isn't it?
I can't as a single parent. I have no backup. I just couldn't. So, so then literally I was in the midst of a transaction with somebody from your team and with Jen, and we were at a closing. You guys had just changed over, and I said, what happened? Like, actually, while we were in the midst of that transaction, you guys changed over. Yeah. And so when we started, the contract was, had just changed over to EXP. And so I asked her at the closing table after everybody was gone, it was just her and I and one other person. And I said, what happened? How did things go? And she started just saying, EXP has been wonderful to us. And just gave a brief summary. And in one sentence, she said, and health insurance. And literally I was in the middle of something and I stopped and I looked at her like, what health insurance? Who gives health insurance? I mean, it's just like
unheard of. Yeah.
So unheard of. And I never forgot that. I literally didn't forget about that. And as time started moving on, and then the pandemic happened, and here I am, an uninsured person during a pandemic. And that was very, very scary. And so I started looking at options during the pandemic and saying, I can no longer afford, quote unquote, to not be insured. I've got to figure something out. And then probably the next day you popped up on my social media and I was like, all right, I got to reach out and find out what's going on over there.
Well, I think, and I think that's one of the things that maybe people, they don't realize is everybody makes a move or they're looking for something different. Yeah. It's not like everybody just goes and changes a brokerage or they're running a business a certain way. It's like certain things matter much more to one person than they do to another. Like obviously that was huge for you, and you went through that process. For some people that might not matter, but I gotta believe that there's a lot of people out there that are in real estate that probably, if you're, kind of solo entrepreneur, you probably don't have it, or you're probably paying a lot for it. And so you were able to get it through, it's Clearwater, right?
Clearwater, yeah. And it's reasonable. It's less than my car payment. It's probably the better insurance than I've had even when I was married.
Yeah,
and it was easy to, go through the process. And so it's incredible. Just the difference of the process itself. So I was worried before I officially signed up. I was like, well, we'll see. This might have just a silly plan and just there for looks or whatever. And I scheduled 2 meetings before I even, extended that I was interested in being with EXP, and had these, and I felt like I grilled her, but, I just was going through it all. Yeah. I knew a lot about healthcare. I had studied it quite a bit over the years. I have a child that has some complications, medical issues. So I knew if she ever had to come onto my plan, I better know the ins and outs of it. And so going through that, and it was just, it was easy. It was easy. And then it literally opened the door to so many other things that I knew I wanted to do, and I knew that I was passionate about, that I completely put on hold, thinking I'm in real estate and, I've got to sell homes, and this works out with my flexibility and things with managing a family. But it just opened up a whole new, literally a world
Yeah, let's talk.
Because
Let's talk about that a little bit. Yeah, because like you had mentioned previous, you were trying to do some things at the last place you were at, and it was like you got some pushback. It was like you can't really think out of the box. This, and I can, I've been here almost, basically I've been here 10 months now. I moved over to EXP at the beginning of the year, but it's like, this is an agent, like a lot of people say it's agent centric. Like we are the owners of the company here, and they want you to succeed, and they will do anything that they can to help you get there. And whether that means, growing a team out, there are different team plans here. Whether that means having we have an agent that is in the process of joining our team right now. And she decided that, during COVID, her and her fiance were going to get married, and they decided they were moving to Florida. So she's going to get her Florida license, and she's going to be a team member in Florida now. Like you can't do that anywhere. Like there's just like there are no borders now with EXP, and that's something we were talking about earlier, right?
Sorry. Oh my gosh, yeah. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I've always been more of a global person in my thinking. Some of the nonprofits I worked for, the people I worked with were overseas and not even, in America. Right. So I've always thought about that and kind of, like I said, put it on the back burner. I'm in real estate. It's only whatever region, section of town that you're in, however you plan your business, and never thought about that. But you go into your EXP world, and I told you this, I was setting up my first day and looking at things and realized I needed to plug my computer in. So I put the computer down for a second, plugged my computer in, and all of a sudden I'm in South Africa's like auditorium. And I was like, wait a minute. And then to be able to see on that side panel that South Africa, Australia, Canada, I mean, it's not just about our little neck of the woods. It's about everything. Right. And when I was making my decision to come to EXP, I was taking a kid out to start her new life in Colorado, and got off the plane. We get to Fort Collins, Colorado, cute little town. We are going through the town and everything, and all of a sudden I'm seeing EXP Real Estate. They're in these properties. It definitely has quite a standing in Fort Collins area. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, there was my other sign. I was like, you can't, there's like 4 in a row. I mean, right. And it just you couldn't, not see that literal sign that you could go really anywhere. And I've reached out to friends and family that are right now struggling with the economy and getting a job. They were laid off, and now we've been talking about them getting their real estate license. And there's not a lot of other places that you could literally work with family and friends in other states, or even in another country, and be a part of the same team. So
exactly, it's just it's just a totally different way of thinking, and it's almost like it takes a little bit to realize it.
Yeah, I mean, I had to get into South Africa and look at it in the auditorium and be like, holy cow.
Or even partnering up with somebody in another state, or, it's like, wait, yeah, I guess there's no reason that I can't do, there's no reason that I can't do that. They have their license there. And it's just like, there's just so many barriers and borders that the traditional brokerage has put on everything. And it's like, they've just kind of blown the lid off of all of that.
Yeah.
We can, this is just it's a different animal. It's different than what, most people are used to. And honestly, it almost makes it maybe a little bit where it's like, it's hard to grasp and hard to understand, where maybe it holds people back from it. You're used to comfortable, traditional brokerage model. And it's like, well, I don't know. That seems like this big wide world, but then at the end of the day, it's like you're still just selling. You're still selling real estate. You just have different options on how to run your business.
Right. So I'm not born and raised in Pittsburgh. So we moved here about 15 years ago. I have no family in the area. My closest family is almost 5-hour drive, and my kids are all gone. I have one in DC, one, Greensburg, not very far. But I anticipate that they'll all be going much further as time moves on. Right. I have one that definitely wants to work in international relations and plans to not even be in this country. And so to think that in the years that follow, as they, especially my kids, are pursuing their dreams and stuff, if I wanted to maybe not live next door, but at least participate in their lives on a regular basis, that I could actually go there, or I could go, and you just see it in a very different light as time moves on, that what seemed impossible is far more possible now. Yeah. So that works as me, being an empty nester, thinking about these things, because I'm a person that has plans for my plans that I'm trying to set up the next 10 years on my, if I have, someone in South America and another one, doing whatever they're doing, that it's really truly possible to be able to do that. So
yeah, absolutely. And how that works too, I'll just kind of run through. It's like traditional brokerage, you just have all these levels. Right? Like there's somebody at the top getting all of this. And then there's regional managers and your sales managers and your independent office managers, or however that works. Essentially, EXP, they cut a lot of that out, right? So they cut all of that cost out, and they essentially give revenue share back to you as an agent to help grow the company. So, it's like every kind of model works the same in our industry until now. When it's like the agents are the ones out there on the ground, they're the ones that are working with other agents, and you have the ability now to kind of form your own organization within EXP, and whether that be with, somebody in Nevada, I think, right? And somebody here, like you literally can build your own organization however you want within EXP with no real borders or constraints. And I mean, and that's just like, it totally can blow somebody's mind, because I mean, it's like, well, it's a big step, even just building a team here in Pittsburgh. But it's like now now there are so many different variables or options that you could, you can really use. And it's not like you can't still do that here, which is, obviously what we have, but it's just, that revenue share side of things, and the fact that they reward you for bringing people to the company. It's huge, right? It's no longer an employer-employee relationship, which is what I feel like a lot of the brokerages have been like for a long time, even though we're independent contractors.
Well, I think it was you, or maybe it was DJ. We were in the office one of my first days and said, how's your business going? And I had to completely just shift my brain. I mean, now I I get it, but before it was always you're thinking in terms of it being somebody else's business, somebody else's, it's
a total mindset shift.
Completely, and has been a huge benefit for me in terms of opening up a bunch of possibilities for me too. And I guess the other one was we talked about when you were just introducing me to the company, was just overall the mentoring and referrals and the communication with these other offices nationally and internationally. But I always like to mentor the new agents in my office. But then there became a period of time where I'm like, I'm putting my business on hold to go help so-and-so, and I'm not going to make any money. And sometimes when it was a tight month, that was a really hard, pill to swallow, even though I loved it. And that's, again, going back to things that I was passionate about, putting it on hold, thinking that real estate really didn't have those possibilities. But we are able to do that. Not only with us locally, but with those who are, either starting or have been in the business, to be able to mentor them and participate that. And I love that. I think we talked about every aspect of real estate. And I think the last time, just before I made a decision, I finally asked you about the commission. I was all these other things were far more important to me. And, I don't even think we had a conversation, or I even asked you about it until I heard about all these other things. And I was, then
exactly.
it
For
was
some
like,
people, it's and that's what, it's totally different for everyone. Like, what are you looking for? Really, what do you need? Because it's like, for some people, it's just like, I know I have a low split and I should be making more money. And I don't care about revenue share. I don't care about stock. I don't need health insurance. I want to make more money. That's it. Like, okay, let's just run the numbers and see, and usually they always work out. If you're a producing agent, it just never works out where you don't make more money here. That, from what I've seen, all the numbers that we've run, if you're doing a lot of business, it always works. But for you, it's like all these other aspects. Right. Yeah. And that's fine too. And that was one of the things that, like, for us, that was, the other things were the eye-opening things. For us, it was the split and how we could manage our team. And then we came and we're like, oh my God, like, this is awesome. This is way better than we expected it to be. Like, the stock program has been amazing. And that's something that you'll see in the future. I mean, obviously you just came here, but and we touched on retirement a little bit, but EXP's you'll get stock awards for your first deal every year. If you sponsor an agent to the company, you'll get stock when they close their first deal every year. When you cap, which you'll cap in this year, you'll get a stock award for capping. You can take 5% of your paycheck and purchase the company stock at a 10% discount on every closing, which is something that we do. And it's like, and as real estate agents, we're generally not great at saving and planning for retirement because it's such an up and down business. It's like, well, you have those huge months. It's like, well, I need to hang on to that in case, because that there's probably a month where you're going to have a downward trend, or you put that right back into marketing, or tax time comes, and it's like, we're not very good at that aspect of things. And it's probably just the personality type. Like, we're always on to the next thing. We're always like, it's not like we're not thinking about the future, where with a lot of industries you just like, they force you to put stuff away. Like, you're building towards that. And it's been amazing for us because it is building towards a retirement, because our industry doesn't do that. And it's building toward the future, So that was one of the things, like, that was huge for us. And it's something that, I think we don't spend enough time thinking about in our industry, because we are really independent contractors. And it's just like, well, that's not the brokerage's standpoint on that as well. That's not really our responsibility. So we just want you to close more deals, and we'll take our cut, and then whatever you do is on you.
Yeah, it's on you. And I mean, just again, as a single parent, that I don't know, I hope to remain independent financially for the rest of my life, even if I find somebody else. But, just to be able to say, here is my plan, I move forward, and I might have a dependent with me for the rest of my life. And can I financially support two of us. And, all of those things come into play. And this was a game changer in terms of EXP. I mean, and it was also a leap of faith that, as I said to you, I know that your story, you did, everything in terms of, it took you a while to make your decision, but I think I made my decision within a month. And I knew, basically it started off like, okay, let's start to do the research and see if this place is as good as it sounds. And I was actually, through my research, trying to prove it wrong. And
that's what everybody does. Yeah. Where are the holes in this?
Where's everything? And it just seemed to be opening more and more doors towards things that meant something to me. And I was like, well, gosh, why wait on that too? Because there was a period of time where I thought, I'll wait 6 months and see how things go. And I'm so glad that I didn't, just to get started and be able to start building for the next 20 years or so.
Yeah. What would you say? Cause honestly, you did pull, you pulled the trigger way quicker than I did.
Yeah.
Right. And then most people do. I mean, I think they said, the average for most people, it's like, it takes a year to realize that, or, maybe it's something happens, or maybe there's a reason, life change or brokerage change or manager change. Like there's something happens that you end up making like, what would you say to somebody who's like on the fence right now and it's just like, I think a lot of times it's just like fear of the unknown, right?
That's,
like you're just.
Yes. And also I think the comfort we talked about that at the beginning of this, just feeling comfortable and being like, don't disrupt my space. Like I don't want to, I know, where I'm coming and where I'm going at this point. But gosh, I even thought about that yesterday as I was thinking about this interview, is that, in a year or so, I would have probably, kicked myself that I didn't start earlier. And I think just all the things pointed towards this immediately. I had retired from politics at the end of 2019. And all my kids were leaving the house and everything. I'm like, so why am I waiting? I mean, I might as well stop being comfortable and move towards something that's for me. I mean, to alleviate the stress of, the industry in terms of financially, to be able to actually have the money to be able to travel and do the things that I want to do now that I don't have ties to the day-to-day stuff. And, just all of those things came down to a choice for myself and what would make me feel a little less anxious about what the future holds in terms of retirement. I think one of the other times we talked, it was maybe the first time, and you said something about a retirement party. I don't remember what it was, but retirement party. I mean, I plan to be in this business till I'm 80, and I didn't want that for myself. I wanted to be able to enjoy life and we always talk about in the industry, even from the beginning, of having a work-life balance. And the traditional way was never going to allow that. I mean, it just wasn't. But this way was definitely going to allow for a work life and some other stuff balance that was awesome.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things that when we think about, like, we just talk about, like, well, what's the split, right? Everybody, it's always, well, what's the split? And you run the numbers and it's like, well, we never talk about, does that give me more freedom to be with my family or to go on a vacation or to travel? Like, what does it give you in time back? Like, we never look at the time aspect. It's always just the money, which is fine because the money, like, there is more money, but what that does allow you to do is make the same money and get more time back, or use that money and leverage somebody on a team. Like, it's like, we never really look at it from that standpoint. And that's something that we should be doing as true business owners. Like, this is our business. Like, would you build your business so that you don't have any free time? Like if you were going to sit back and be like, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build a business that just, it has me locked in a cage where I have no free time. I'm 24/7. I'm on call. I'm always running. Like, it's like, no, of course you wouldn't. No. But, you know, we allow it to, and it's always like we're chasing the next numbers, that, you know, more deals, more numbers, like, because that's what we're getting, you know, that's what we're getting fed by the brokerages. But it's like, at the same time, it's like, well, are you building your business to support your life as opposed to, you know, you're building your business to support the brokerage and then your life, like after that, you know, without having any time. It's something that I think we don't think about as much. And it just provides you other revenue streams, provide you the ability to get some more freedom back with your time. I know it has for us. Yeah.
And I guess the other part of it too, and the healthcare aspect of it is, you know, my worry was that I would get to a semi-retirement age and not have had the preventative care or other healthcare stuff. And then where would I be? You know, would I be healthy enough to be able to travel and, you know, see all the places in this world that I want to see, or, you know, just all of those kind of things that you just don't think about. Because this is a wonderful industry, being able to help people find whether it's their next home or sometimes just, you know, they're downsizing to have a life of their own, or they're going through a family situation. And being a part of real estate really has some huge inspiring aspects to it. And I love it for that, and being a part of people's lives and getting them where they need to be, even if it's sometimes not the best circumstance, but getting them on a better path so they feel good about it. But we ourselves as agents need to also do that for ourselves and make sure that we are on the path that we need to go on to be not only successful, but also do all the things that we want to do in this life. And EXP seems to be the only one that I was able to do that with. And I am so grateful for being a part of it.
Awesome. That's great stuff. I think that's a great way to end it. So, you know, if you're thinking about a move, if you're thinking about a change, and you just want to get some, you know, feedback, you want to pick our brain, reach out to Kelly.
Yes.
You know, she's here. If you have any questions, if you want to run through the scenario, you want to run through your scenario, get together with us. We can do the math. We can show you how everything works, and then it's up to you to make the decision that best suits you. Right?
Yes, sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was great. It was great to run through it. Great job, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds great. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. Have a good day.